we've had a chance to work for a few days with mean, median, mode, calculating information to get box and whisker plots, IQR, standard deviation, variance, normal distribution, all of that stuff. Now we're going to transition into scatter plot. Scatter plot is another great way to display your data. So you can talk about correlation. Now, first thing we want to talk about is what is a scatter plot? Scatter plot is a graph that shows the relationship between two quantitative variables or bivariates. Measures on the same individuals with one variable being represented on one axis and the second on the other. Each individual has a point on the graph. So you might look at correlation between height and weight of different people, where each dot represents each person. Now, a correlation coefficient is going to be a number we designate as R between -1 and +1 that describes the relationship between two variables. So positive correlation is when you have a R value between 0 and 1, and as one variable increases, so does the second variable. And the closer the R value is to 1, the stronger the correlation. So if you look at these pictures here, this first one has an R value of +1, and the dots form a straight line. Now, the next one has an R value of 0.8. They're pretty close to a general best fit line. They're pretty close to it. They have general, and it's a pretty strong correlation. Here you can still tell on the third one with R value of 0.5 that they have that general upward trend. However, they're a little more spread out. This fourth one has an R value of 0.2, so while you can still tell that it generally trends upward, there are quite a bit more different variations in the data, which means there's not quite as strong of a correlation. One that would have a pretty strong correlation somewhere between this one or this one would be doing homework completion and test and quiz scores, as has been evidenced by those of you who have completed your work and have your quiz and tests in. Those of you who don't have work completed, your grade is also lower because you don't have those test scores in. Now, on the other hand, we have something also known as negative correlation, which is going to be between 0 and -1. Same thing, that the closer the R value is to -1, the stronger the correlation. However, with a negative correlation, as one variable increases, the other decreases. So as your score increases, the number of missing assignments you have will, in correlation, decrease. So in this first one here, with an R value of -1, it's a perfect correlation that as the one gets bigger, the other is going to get smaller. Here with -0.8, same thing as with the +0.8, except trending downward, the -0.5 and -0.2. Now, what we want to do is be able to graph a scatter plot today and look at what the correlation looks like. So if we go ahead and graph these points, we have a table showing the number of hours and groups of students spent studying on this and the scores they received on what's called the Regents test. So we have 3 hours studied and a score of 80, and this is basically graphing on a graph. We have 5 and 90, and we have 2 and 75, and we have 6 and 80, we have 7 and 90, 1 and 50, 2 and 65, 7 and 85, 1 and 40, and 7 and 100. So as you can see, that while you do have some of those outliers of kids who didn't study very long but did do well, as a general trend, I see that it's a general trend positively, that the more you study, the better you will do. So we would say that this is a positive correlation, and I would say that this is a relatively strong, it's not quite moderate, it's a strong correlation. You could say moderately strong if you would like, but in general it is a strong correlation. Now, we got a short video today. What I want you to do now is try this U-track problem. You're going to show, it shows the child's age and their corresponding height plot the points on the scatter plot and then determine whether correlation is positive or negative, strong, moderate, or weak. And as always, bring your questions with you to class tomorrow.